So that's just recording me. Okay, welcome to a lovely another week. We're getting started with la négation. So what a fantastic way to kick off the week then with negativity, negation. All right, these are really useful phrases. So let's kick off with une habitude. So something that that we're used to doing, a routine. Okay, so we're negating this habitude. So ne, and then we're going to have the verb in here, jamais. Okay, ne jamais. By the way, in all of these, I'm going to obviously give you the ne, but you know that in spoken French, that very, very often that ne is dropped out completely. Don't hear it at all. Even if there's an apostrophe, we just drop it out completely. But I'll give it to you because that's the proper grammar. Now, the opposite of so ne jamais is never. Okay, so this is the opposite of doing something regularly is to do it never. Okay, so ne jamais. And the opposite of doing something never is to do it always. So that is toujours. Toujours. Okay, remember one word, toujours, which is all the time, always. All right, let's have a look at an example of this. So, je bois toujours du café le matin. So I always drink coffee in the morning. Okay, and what we've got there, we've got toujours. Something I do all the time, always. So what's the opposite of that? Je ne bois jamais du thé le matin. Je ne bois jamais du thé le matin. We could drop the ne if we like. So je bois jamais du thé. Okay, so we know that jamais means never. I never do that. So that's this, and I think it's useful to think, rather than just thinking of a word and translating it back to English, and I know that's just what I've done, but I think even more importantly is if you can think about in what situation am I applying these words. So I'm talking about something, whether this is something I do all the time or whether this is something that I do never. Okay, so this is about habitude, and I think that's quite useful to start thinking about your French in terms of concepts of like when you use it, rather than always zigzagging back to English, because it doesn't work and it's exhausting. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we've got changement. Changement. So this is when something changes. Changement, something changes. So we've got ne, verb, plus. And in this instance, you're never ever going to pronounce that S. So you're stopping at the U here. Ne plus, and obviously the ne can be dropped. The opposite of no more, which is what that means, no more, is encore. And encore means still. So I'm doing something no more, or I'm still doing something. And that's why we're putting this into the category of changement. So are we changing something, or are we keeping it the same? So the change is the negation, and the encore is the same. Let's look at some examples. So Mary fume encore. Is Mary still smoking? So we mean still here. Mary fume encore. Is she still smoking? Okay, so that's still. Moi, je ne fume plus. Moi, je ne fume plus. So I don't smoke anymore. Or je fume plus. Je fume plus. Don't need to put the ne in, as you know. Right, so that's a change. Right, now there's another way that we can have a look at jamais. And that's why I think it's a good idea for you to start thinking about, actually, when you start thinking about them as ideas of when you would use these things, rather than thinking always, well, when would I apply it in an English situation, that language, and when would I apply it in a French situation? So let's look at this example. Je ne suis jamais allé à Paris. Je ne suis jamais allé à Paris. So I've never been to Paris. I've never been to Paris. Or je suis jamais allé à Paris. Okay, so we've got I've never been to Paris. We could say je suis pas allé en cours. Je ne suis pas allé en cours. I haven't been yet. Je n'y suis pas allé en cours. Yeah. And then we're thinking, well, actually, if it says je ne suis pas allé en cours, this is I've never been. We don't actually know whether you want to go ever. All we know is you haven't been. But if we change the sentence to je ne suis pas allé en cours, it's like I haven't been yet. So notice that encore has changed its meaning from up here. I haven't been yet. This was still, wasn't it, up here? And over here it was encore is yet. I haven't been yet, and that's sort of like signals an intention that I will one day. So that's the sort of like the subtle difference between those two phrases. Good, all good. Okay, let's keep going. Right, none at all, none at all. Pas un seul, not a single one, or zero, nothing. This is absolute. Not. This isn't nothing as in rien. This is none at all, none at all. So this is ne, the verb, aucun, the masculine, or aucune it turns into the feminine. So none at all. Let's have a look at some examples. Je ne connais aucun français. Je ne connais aucun français. Capital F there tells me it's about the French people. Je ne connais aucun français. So I don't know any French people. And if you like a translation, pas un seul français, not a single French person. Okay, so aucun. Je ne connais aucun of something. Another example. Je n'ai aucune changes for feminine. Je n'ai aucune idée. I've got no idea. I've got zero idea. Je n'ai aucune idée. This is probably the most common place where you'll use this construction. I ask you a question in French and you'll say to me, je n'ai aucune idée, Annie. Okay, so je n'ai aucune idée. If you want to take that a little bit further, aucun entre nous a l'intention d'y aller. Aucun entre nous a l'intention d'y aller. You might have a go at working out what that sentence means. And that means aucun entre nous, that bit there, none of us. None of us, so zero, yes? None of us intend to go. Aucun entre nous. So this aucun, aucune, can move around as well. But this is when you want to say zero, none. It's not nothing, because nothing is rien. All good? Yeah? Okay. Right, so over to you now. So do you want to write down what you would think this and how you would translate this French into French? So have you still got your green car? You can use the vous or the tu. It's up to you. I'll go with the tu. You could have had vous. That encore could be here or it could be at the end, by the way. So did you use encore? Good. Do you still live in Lyon? Yeah, or you could put the vous if you like. Yes, so you're using encore again. He doesn't smoke anymore. So I put il ne fume plus. Il ne fume plus. Yeah, no more. I've never been to Disneyland. It's not so, there's no yet in there. There's no intention. It's just saying I've never been. Okay. je ne suis jamais allée. Je ne suis jamais, or je suis jamais allée à Disneyland. Good. Has anyone got any questions? Would you like me to go back to any of those sections at all and revisit any of that? You're good? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I did find it extremely quick, actually, Ellie. I couldn't say I got a handle on it really from the beginning. I sort of understand it, but I would quite like you to maybe just go through the beginning part. I don't know if anybody else wants, but just like some of it, then a bit more slowly, perhaps, from like the idea of negation and habitude. I didn't quite catch up on that. Get that?
Okay, of course. Yeah. Okay. So habitude is when we're doing something always. We're always doing something. It's a regular thing. So in my case, I always drink coffee in the morning and I drink tea in the afternoon. I always drink tea in the afternoon. So as I always drink coffee in the morning, I never drink tea in the morning. So what we're getting to here is, what do I always do and what do I never do? So that's the sense of, is it habit or not? So when I put them up here as ne ... jamais, what I'm showing you is that, as you know, with a negative, that a negative goes around the verb. So we'd have a verb in here. Okay, so that's sort of like the top of the construction, if you like, that goes around the verb. And then here I've got the opposite of jamais. So what's the opposite of never? The opposite of jamais and never is toujours. Toujours, which is always. So if I talk about what I always do, then I'll say, je bois toujours du café le matin. So I always drink coffee in the morning. But if I say what I never do, I never drink tea in the morning. So I can say, je ne bois jamais du café le matin. So I never drink tea in the morning. But I've crossed out the ne here because I'm saying, well, actually, because actually in spoken French, this gets dropped all the time. But when we're writing out French, it's good for us to be aware of it, because sometimes it gets reintroduced, and also we want to know that we're actually talking about a negative. So that's a conscious decision for you to decide if you want to speak it or not. But what you'll hear coming at you, the important thing is when you're listening to French, don't listen out for the ne, because the ne's not going to tell you that you're on a negative. It's going to be the negative word. And this is a never. So that's the negative word that's telling you that this never happens. The ne is going to either be almost unintelligible in the sentence, or it's not going to be there at all. So that's your key word to know that it's never. Is that all right? Yep, good. Okay. Yeah, so I've got a few more minutes. Now we're talking about a change in circumstances. So the same thing again, ne ... So we've got a verb in here, haven't we? But this time it's plus. And I want to draw attention to the fact that you don't pronounce this S. So that ne plus, because it's a change, it really means, I don't do that anymore. It's a no more. I used to do it, and now I don't do it anymore. It used to happen, and now it doesn't happen anymore. But en cours would be that it's still happening, which is the opposite. And so in English, we would say still happening. So we can translate, if we like, en cours as still. But we need to be careful of a couple of things, is that we know that plus and plus are used in other parts of the French language. So we want to be careful that we're actually choosing to use this to talk about change. And we also know that en cours means several things, don't we? The one that everybody knows most is when you're at the end of a theatre, isn't it? And it means again. But actually, it's got a few uses in French. Okay, in this case, so we're going ne plus, no more. And what's the opposite of no more? En cours, which is still. So the question here, Mary fume en cours? Is Mary still smoking? So that's not a change, is it? She's still doing that thing. So that's a still. But then I say, well, I don't smoke anymore. So Moi, me. Je ne fume plus. Or moi, je fume plus. I could drop off the nerve I like. Moi, je fume plus. And remember, we're stopping at the you because it's a no more. You never pronounce a yes on a no more, by the way. Je ne fume plus. I don't do it anymore. So therefore, it's a change. I used to, but now I don't do it anymore. If you've never smoked, then you wouldn't say je ne fume plus because that would give the impression that you had smoked. So then you just come back to the really simple negative of je ne fume pas. Je ne fume pas, I don't smoke. Or je n'ai jamais fumé. Je n'ai jamais fumé. I've never smoked. You could use as well. All right, okay, let's finish off with this one, with this jamais. Je ne suis jamais allé à Paris. So I've never been to Paris. I'm just telling you I've never been. I'm not telling you whether I've got any intention of going or not. I'm just giving you a straight fact of like, I've never been. But if I wanted to give you the sense of I haven't been, but I wouldn't yet, but I might go, there's some intention that I might one day, then je ne suis pas allé en cours. Je ne suis pas allé en cours. So there we're using en cours in a different way to mean yet. Good. Okay, well, we probably come back to this subject again, but hopefully you've got one or two little useful bits.